The fall of the Zulu Empire, from Ngingindlovu to Ulundi. The Anglo-Zulu War of 1879 stands as one of the most consequential conflicts in African history. It marked the end of the independent Zulu Empire, one of the most powerful and organized African states of the 19th century. At the heart of this story are two decisive battles, Ngingindlovu and Ulundi, that symbolize the beginning of the Zulu Empire's collapse. This video takes you through these key events, exploring the courage of the Zulu warriors, the strategic brilliance of British forces, and the political consequences that shaped the African continent. Before diving into the battles, it's essential to understand the roots of the Anglo-Zulu War. By the 1870s, the Zulu Empire, led by King Cetshwayo, was a dominant force in southern Africa. The kingdom boasted a disciplined and highly organized army, a legacy of military reforms introduced by Shaka Zulu decades earlier. However, their independence was increasingly threatened by the expanding British Empire. The British sought to consolidate their power in the region, pursuing a confederation policy aimed at unifying South Africa under their control. To achieve this, they needed to eliminate Zulu resistance. In December 1878, the British issued an ultimatum to King Cetshwayo, demanding that the Zulu nation disarm and accept British authority. When Cetshwayo refused, war became inevitable. The war began in January 1879. Initial Zulu victories, particularly at the Battle of Ulundi, one of the greatest defeats ever suffered by the British Army at the hands of indigenous forces, shook British confidence. The Zulu forces also besieged the British garrison at Eshowe, leaving British commanders scrambling to regain their footing. This backdrop set the stage for the pivotal confrontation at Ngingindlovu. The siege of Eshowe had left the British forces in Zululand vulnerable. A 300-strong garrison, led by Colonel Charles Pearson, was trapped, surrounded by Zulu forces, while food and supplies dwindled. The British needed to act quickly to avoid another catastrophic defeat. On April 2, 1879, British commander Lord Chelmsford launched an operation to relieve the besieged troops. This led to the Battle of Ngingindlovu, fought approximately 20 miles from Eshowe. The British force, numbering about 5,600 men, entered the battle well prepared for a Zulu attack. They formed a fortified laager, a defensive position surrounded by wagons, with their troops inside, armed with the latest rifles and 2 Gatling guns. The Zulu force, estimated at around 11,000 warriors, launched their attack at dawn. True to their reputation, the Zulu troops displayed incredible bravery, charging headlong into British fire, using the traditional horns of the buffalo formation to encircle their enemies. Despite their ferocity, the Zulus faced a monumental disadvantage. The British defenders unleashed a withering barrage of rifle fire and artillery. The Gatling guns, which could fire hundreds of rounds per minute, proved devastating to the Zulu formations. Attempt after attempt to breach the British lines failed, and within 2 hours, the Zulu assault was broken. Approximately 1,000 Zulu warriors were killed, whereas the British suffered minimal casualties. Only 11 men were killed and 48 wounded. The victory at Ngingindlovu was a turning point for the British. It allowed them to relieve the siege of Eshowe and regain much-needed momentum in the war. But for the Zulu nation, it signified a dangerous shift. The element of surprise and the advantage of traditional tactics, which had proven so successful at Ulundi, were increasingly ineffective against the disciplined formations and advanced weaponry of the British. In the months following Ngingindlovu, the British intensified their campaign to crush Zulu resistance entirely. King Cetshwayo, however, remained defiant. He sought to maintain Zulu independence and preserve his kingdom, regrouping his forces for a final stand. Lord Chelmsford, under pressure to secure victory after the early setbacks in the war, prepared a massive invasion of Zululand. The British, now determined and well-equipped, moved deeper into Zulu territory, laying the groundwork for one final decisive engagement. The war took on a grim tone during this period. The British systematically destroyed Zulu strongholds, razed villages, and disrupted agricultural practices, leaving the Zulu people vulnerable to hunger and despair. For many Zulu warriors, the coming battle at Ulundi symbolized a last chance to defend both their homeland and their way of life. July 4, 1879, marked the last significant military engagement of the Anglo-Zulu War, the Battle of Ulundi. The Zulu capital was now at the center of the conflict. King Cetshwayo, realizing the British were closing in, gathered his remaining forces for one final fight. His army, numbering around 20,000 warriors, prepared to face the highly disciplined and technologically superior British. The British, under Chelmsford, entered the battlefield with 5,000 men, equipped with rifles, artillery, and Gatling guns. The British troops employed a square formation, a highly effective defensive configuration. Soldiers formed a hollow square, bristling with rifles and supported by artillery at each corner, leaving no vulnerable flanks. The battle began with a haunting Zulu war chant as thousands of warriors charged swiftly toward the British position. The Zulu soldiers fought with bravery and desperation, wielding spears and shields as they ran into a storm of gunfire. However, the British firepower proved insurmountable. Gatling guns tore through the Zulu ranks, while disciplined volleys from British rifles decimated their formations. The initial charge faltered, and successive waves of Zulu attackers met a similar fate. The horns of the buffalo tactic, so successful in the past, was neutralized by the British square formation and its devastating firepower. Within an hour, the Zulu army had been routed. Thousands lay dead or wounded on the battlefield, while the British suffered minimal losses, 10 killed and 87 wounded. The defeat was absolute, breaking the backbone of the Zulu military and shattering their resistance. The aftermath of Ulundi brought devastating consequences for the Zulu Empire. The battle effectively marked the end of their military capacity to resist the British. King Cetshwayo, whose leadership had held the Zulu Kingdom together, became a hunted man. The British captured him a few weeks later, sending him into exile and leaving the Zulu Kingdom leaderless. With Cetshwayo's capture and the decimation of the Zulu army, the British divided Zululand into 13 chiefdoms, deliberately fragmenting the once unified kingdom. This divide-and-conquer strategy ensured that the Zulu people would never again pose a unified threat to British rule in southern Africa. Over time, the political and social fabric of the Zulu Kingdom disintegrated, leaving the people vulnerable to further exploitation and oppression under colonial rule. For the British, the victory at Ulundi achieved their strategic goal of dismantling Zulu power. However, it came at a moral and cultural cost. The war revealed the devastating impact of imperialism and technological disparities on indigenous societies. While the Zulu had fought valiantly to defend their homeland, the British Empire's drive for dominance left no room for their survival as an independent state. The Anglo-Zulu War, and particularly the twin battles of Ngingindlovu and Ulundi, serves as a poignant reminder of the clash between two vastly different worlds. On one side stood the Zulu Empire, rooted in tradition, with a proud history of unity and military innovation. On the other was the British Empire, representing industrial-era modernization, advanced technology, and an insatiable thirst for expansion. The fall of the Zulu Empire sent ripples through southern Africa, leaving deep scars on the region's history. It served as a cautionary tale for other African kingdoms, foreshadowing the relentless wave of European colonization that would sweep across the continent in the decades to come. Even in defeat, the Zulu people demonstrated remarkable resilience. Their cultural identity, forged through centuries of struggle and unity, persisted despite the loss of their sovereignty. Today, the Zulu legacy is celebrated as an enduring symbol of strength and pride, not only in South Africa, but across the world. The battles of Anglo-Zulu and Ulundi illustrate the tragic end of the Zulu Empire and the unstoppable momentum of British imperialism during the 19th century. These events offer profound lessons on the intersections of power, culture, and history, sparking reflection on the forces that have shaped our modern world. Through this exploration, we honor the determination of the Zulu warriors and acknowledge the lasting impact of their struggle. Though their kingdom fell, their courage amid overwhelming odds remains an inspiration, leaving an indelible mark on the pages of African and world history.